All right. Good morning, guys. My name is Ryan with Great Lakes Storm System Network. I got a couple things to go over here in regards to the upcoming severe weather risks here. We have some good developments and good progress in our thinking of our risk areas here for Tuesday and Wednesday. I do want to first mention if you guys have friends, family, relatives, loved ones within the risk area out to our west today in parts of Oklahoma and Kansas, shoot them a text. Okay, we have a level 5 out of 5, a high risk, a pretty rare event here out here in most Oklahoma, here in central Oklahoma, but parts of Kansas as well. And that moderate risk is still quite a high risk, as is the enhanced. But just wanted to mention that very briefly here. We do have that high risk out there to the west today. All hazards possible, violent tornadoes, strong damaging winds, extremely large hail, all on the table out there. So again, if you guys got friends, relatives, family, loved ones out there within the highest risk areas, shoot them a text. It could save a life today. But with that being said, we do have a couple of severe threats for our region here. Starting with today, actually, we do have a lower end risk here in parts of Illinois, as we see here in these dark green areas. We have actually a level 2 risk bumping up by Quincy and over towards St. Louis, that general area. That is going to be for mainly damaging winds today. This is going to be a damaging wind threat, but also within that yellow slight risk area, we do have a shot there to see a tornado or two possible in far western Illinois. Pretty low chance today, but the risk nonetheless. Focus remains here is going to be on the event tomorrow and potentially Wednesday here. So what we have going on here, we have a level 2 risk. We call it a slight risk. So out of a scale of 5, 1 to 5, 5 being the worst, 1 being the least concerning, we have level 2. Okay. That extends for pretty much the entire state of Indiana, parts of eastern Illinois, and most of Ohio, but excluding northeast Ohio. Okay. The models from yesterday and the day before that have what we say, so to speak, uptrended in a way where they're starting to look more so concerning for certain areas. We'll go into that here in a bit. But the risks for tomorrow do include number one, damaging winds. That's going to be your main risk here. Secondary risk here is large hail. Some could be larger than hen egg size, so larger than 2 inch in diameter here. That's especially true in this hatched area down here in black, down by the Ohio River. So Indianapolis, Dayton, Columbus, those areas back through Evansville, highest chance there of large hail, larger than 2 inches. But there is also a growing concern tomorrow for a couple of tornadoes possible, mainly across, well, we're going to say northeastern Indiana, northwestern Ohio. Right now seems to have that best chance for a tornado or two. I do think that threat is increasing as we get more model runs, as we get new data coming in here. That risk for a couple tornadoes across the region is increasing, but mainly in that darkish brown, reddish color area, which extends basically from Toledo all the way back down through Evansville, all the way over towards Cincinnati, Athens, Columbus, up toward the Cleveland, not in Cleveland, but up toward that general area. That area does have most concern for a tornado, especially just in my opinion, across what we're going to say that northeastern corner of Indiana into northwestern Ohio, there towards, like we'll say, Van Wert, Muncie, maybe Fort Wayne areas. But there is potential in any of these colored areas. A lower risk does extend all the way through Wisconsin, through southern and central Michigan, all the way through eastern Ohio, back here through most of Illinois. So a large chunk of our region here in a tornadic risk for tomorrow. I do think that risk is increasing, especially in that red area, but it is a risk nonetheless. Okay. We're going to cover another risk here that's on tap a little bit later on here, but we do have a more significant risk for areas further south. We do have a level 3 risk now in place for Wednesday. We'll go over that here in a second. But first, let's go ahead and dive into some models for tomorrow. So looking at a few of the models we have new data that we got between yesterday's stream and today's stream. We have a couple new data points to look at, with the one major one being the HRRR model, which is usually the most accurate with these general setups. Not always perfect, but it is pretty accurate. So looking at what's going to happen or what could happen, we're going to see a few things here. Number one, what we talked about yesterday is still true. Out west today, we have that high risk. That's going to form into a major squall line slash bow echo. Okay. So as that pushes eastward towards our region, the main question is still going to be number one, is that going to hold out? Number two, could that be severe for parts of the region tomorrow morning? But also, three, is it going to affect cloud cover? Could it overturn the atmosphere and limit our instability? Okay. Big question there. All right. It's going to move through here. This is about 5 a.m. tomorrow morning. Looking at this, moving through here, we're going to move this up to 11 a.m. Here's noon tomorrow, and this is going to move through. It says it's going to decay. But as the surface heats behind it, which this model is showing, we're going to have more scattered development here across Illinois, Indiana, and even parts of southern Ohio here looks to be strengthening as that line pushes through. So that's going to be the major concern. This line is not expected to be severe. Perhaps western Illinois maybe could get a severe storm, but as that pushes eastward through the region, it should be weakening. Okay. Main concern pops up behind it by early to mid afternoon. We're going to say 2 p.m., roughly ending at around midnight for the region. But, further east you go, the later, further west you go, the earlier it's going to end for you. Okay. But that's your main concern. These are going to push east northeastward across the region here. We do see a good overlap here of ingredients that could support severe weather. Okay. That risk area is well placed here from the SPC. The highest risk is going to be in yellow here. Would not be shocked to see that upgrade. In fact, they actually do mention possibility of an upgrade to a level 3 risk for this, mainly for damaging winds, but wouldn't be shocked if they upgrade tornado risk as well. Looking at the models, I think that the overall time frame is still on track, 2 p.m. to midnight, depending on where you're at. Highest risk right now across Indiana and Ohio, perhaps South Michigan as well. But again, we're having some controversy here between models, how far north that instability is going to get. Regardless, though, any of these storms up here could produce large hail and maybe some gusty winds. Tornadic risk should be tied further south, but we'll have to wait and see how these models are going to trend here. So, with that being said, that's going to continue to move eastward through the region. It should weaken as time goes on. And then we go into Wednesday morning, and that's where the model ends. All right. Looking at another solution here from the NAM3, it's showing a similar but still different picture here. Looking at what's going to happen for tomorrow, we're going to see that major squall line out to our west take shape, pushes eastward here. It's going to reach us here, maybe severe for Illinois, as early as roughly 6 a.m. Going to push eastward, should be weakening. It's going to move through, and boom, right behind it, we have development here. Once again, 1 p.m. Central, 2 p.m. Eastern. We have development here across Illinois and parts of Indiana. This is 2 p.m. Eastern. We're going to move this through the time frame here. We see it take shape into what we think could be a good squall line here. Okay. That's going to push through the region with additional development here to the south. So a different picture here being painted, but still similar areas and similar risks between these models. So whether you're looking at the HRRR, the NAM3 is still a same solution here. Go ahead and look at the overlap here of instability and our wind shear. We're going to see the coloration here. The brighter colors indicate a better atmosphere. We see it's really lit up here across Indiana, Western Ohio, back through Illinois. That's going to push eastward through the day. And then it's going to continue to die off as we get toward the evening and sunset hours tomorrow. That's one model. Looking at the other model as well shows a very similar picture being shown with that. Go ahead and overlap that really quickly here. Get to the Midwest look. There we go. Looking at that, going to move through the region here, and it's going to overlap right there across Indiana, parts of Ohio, but notice even parts of South Michigan getting in on that. Not too far into Michigan, but it definitely bears watching here. If that axis of instability does go higher into Michigan, it becomes a concern. But right now, it looks to be mainly along that state line there. So overall, the concern tomorrow is it's going to be a good environment. There's still some uncertainty here, but things are trending in a direction where severe weather is going to be more so possible, if not likely. Okay. Overall, your risk here is good. I think it's really well placed. I would not be shocked if they upgrade this to a level 3 risk, which would be mainly for wind. Wouldn't be shocked if they increase the tornado probabilities as well, given the latest guidance. But again, there's still some of that uncertainty there. So I wouldn't think they would. But again, they're in charge of that, not me. I'm just communicating these risks to you. All right. And then we have that risk for Wednesday. We're going to briefly touch on this. We can't go too in depth with Wednesday just because how Tuesday plays out will directly affect how Wednesday plays out. But looking at Wednesday, the parameter spaces are really, really good showing up on these models here. Now, take it with a grain of salt because this can change. Things can shift. A lot can happen here. But looking at the parameter space between tomorrow and for Wednesday, we're seeing a much better tornadic probability for Wednesday, especially if you're south of Indianapolis toward the Ohio River Valley in Indiana and Illinois, and perhaps Southwest Ohio as well. This is going to be a concern if this trends in this direction. Okay, so areas further north like Wisconsin, Michigan, perhaps even northern parts, Indiana, Ohio, and Illinois may escape this threat. But if you are watching from those southern areas for Wednesday, be on alert. We are seeing potentially a even bigger tornadic day taking shape here on Wednesday. But again, don't get ahead of ourselves. Let Tuesday play out. We'll have more confidence as things play out through the day tomorrow. But definitely be aware that we do have that risk here again for Wednesday, especially for areas further to the south. All right. With that being said, I covered pretty much everything here. So we're going to go ahead and look to the comment section here for a few of your guys' questions, and we'll go from there. What's up, Emmanuel, Anita, Shannon, Judy, Robin, Jeannie, Max, Ashley, Karen, Diana? What is up, guys? Good morning. Good morning. Questions. Do you think Michigan will be updated to a slight again? Ashley, it could be a possibility based on data overnight. I wouldn't expect it to be lifted too far north into Michigan, maybe again along the 94 corridor there by like Jackson, Kalamazoo, Detroit, Ann Arbor, those areas, possibly. This updates at 1:30 p.m. today. So if it does update, we will post it to our pages. Jeannie, Vincent's would be in both of these days' risks. More so, I think for you would be concerning tornadic wise for Wednesday if everything plays out. But again, don't discredit tomorrow because there is quite a good risk that we're seeing develop here for tomorrow. It's really upticked in the past 24 hours. Main risk for Indianapolis Tuesday and Wednesday. So your main risks for Tuesday, tomorrow, I still think is going to be damaging winds and large hail. I would not be shocked to see a few tornadoes across the region. Okay, so basically an all hazards threat, but your main concern with any storm is going to continue to be that large hail, damaging wind type of event. How bad is Vincent's looking? You're going to be in the highest risk for tomorrow or for Wednesday, should I say. So I think your main risk will be Wednesday. I think there's potential that tomorrow's risk may not be as significant for you. Still a chance, not staying at zero. But I think looking at these models here, the best environment overlaps over you on Wednesday. So Tuesday, it could get pretty bad, sure. But I think Wednesday has potential to be much, much worse for you down there. All right. The entire state of Indiana and western central Ohio tomorrow is in the highest risk. I think the overall little localized area of a more centralized risk may be centered like from, we'll say, Lafayette up to like Toledo, that general area across like Van Wert, Ohio, Defiance, those areas, I think would be might be in a higher risk. But we'll have to see what they do at the next update. Potentially, Martin, potentially. Um, Based on guidance, we were kind of split still between models showing the instability creeping up into Michigan, and other models are saying, nah, it's going to stay majority south here. Regardless, though, if the instability stays south, we still should see a hail and perhaps a gusty wind threat develop. Not going to be too major of a concern, but still a threat nonetheless to be concerned about. Not really sure, Jeannie. Is it? Do you have a basement or anything like that? Might be a good idea to move your stuff to the basement. But again, it's going to be one of those situations here where a tornado. I mean, in any situation here, the odds of a tornado actually hitting you are quite low. Um, and most of it's usually a temporary threat. So I'm assuming you have fish. So is it possible to like mobilize the fish somehow? Because I wouldn't advise like moving your entire fish tank, but if you can put like a fish in like a like a little bowl of water for an hour or so and take shelter if you need to, might be a better idea. Yeah, so basically, if you don't have a basement there, fish tank, just keep it away from windows just in case your windows blow out, stuff like that. Otherwise, take it as what you would do in the case that you take precautions yourself. Put a blanket over it, maybe protect it from flying debris, stuff like that. I would more so urge to mobilize the fish if you can. Um, More so mobilize the entire fish tank. That's kind of a weird question there, but it's a good question to have because pet safety, whether it's your dog, your cat, your fish, any type of pet you guys have, it's also good to think about them as well because they are just as important as you guys in the event you have to take shelter. Stark County, Ohio. Technically, you are in the slight risk, so the highest risk level 2 out of 5 for tomorrow, and also for the day on Wednesday, you are in a lower risk, level 1 risk there. So you are in the risk back-to-back days here. Main concern, I think, for you would come later on in the evening on Tuesday. So roughly, probably closer to sunset, 6, 7, 8, 9 p.m. What's up, Alan? Good to see you in here, bud. How many pets do you got, Jeannie? There you go. That's a great idea too. That's a great idea. Bathtubs are always a good centralized spot there. If you don't have a basement, we always preach interior closet, interior room away from windows. Your bathtub is a good idea because it has plumbing, and plumbing goes into the ground. So it's anchored more so speaking. Um, More so than any part of your house. But if you have a basement, obviously your basement's your first choice. Interior closet, interior room, great idea. Bathtub, not a bad idea either. So time frame for second wave Tuesday. So first wave comes through tomorrow, or yeah, tomorrow actually. First wave concern comes through early in the morning, depending on where you're at, between like 9 and 1, we'll say. That's going to move through here. This is your first initial line here. Reaches the Indiana line here roughly at 10 a.m. according to the model. And then right behind that line, we have pop up storms at 2 p.m. Eastern and 1 p.m. Central there. So depending on where you're at, expect storms to pop up across Indiana and Illinois roughly between 2 and 3 p.m. ish. Those will track eastward throughout the afternoon there, reaching the Ohio line here roughly around 5 or 6 p.m. We could have some storms ongoing across the border of Kentucky, Ohio there that have been showing up here on some models. So don't be shocked if those storms on the southern end of that initial line do kind of start to strengthen there. We see here's the initial line, and further south here on the Indiana Ohio border, they start to strengthen there. So those could definitely maintain their strength. But overall, second wave, 2 p.m., maybe 1 p.m. Central, 2 p.m. Eastern, and they'll push eastward. The threat should die by sunset, if not a bit after 10, 11 p.m. ish. Kobe, not really seeing that right now. The models are actually trending Wednesday to the south. So I don't really see Wednesday being extended further north at this point. Ashley, unfortunately, I will not be. We're gearing up for potential back-to-back days here. We're going to save our energy. Technically, Oklahoma's out of our viewing area there. We'll be watching radar here, but we're not going to be streaming it. We don't have chasers out there. Definitely would pay attention if you guys want to watch. There's many pages out there will be streaming. Main one, you guys probably know Ryan Hall. He'll be streaming probably. Max Velocity is another good one. A lot of independent chasers as well. Vince Walty, Brandon Kopik. Just really depends on what you guys want to watch today. But we're not going to be live here. If we had chasers out there, maybe, but we're more so focused on Great Lakes here. We'll post updates if anything major happens out there. We'll have updates on our page, as we did for the last risk or the last couple tornadoes that hit. But overall, we try to maintain our focus here for the Great Lakes region. Potentially, Brad, potentially. I think the risk is still highest off to our south, but depending on the model you use, excuse me, depending on the model that you use, you could see that risk get extended further north because the instability axis is kind of split between models south, north. Southeast Michigan's kind of in that crosshair there. So could I see an upgrade? Yeah, I could. Could I see a few strong storms? Absolutely. Is there potential that it could stay south? Yep. So it's one of those situations, just kind of watch and wait. Do you think Thursday we might see a moderate risk? Thursday? I don't see a risk in our Great Lakes region here. There is a risk further south and to our west, or sorry, to our east, south and east across portions of actually take a look at that real quick. Thursday's threat is off on the East Coast. So if you mean Wednesday, I do think there is potential for an upgrade to the moderate for areas along the southern Ohio River. I think that's a possibility, but only if parameter spaces hold between now and then, which a lot can change. Hallway for human are stairs. No one is safe. Hallways are okay. Interior hallway, interior room. No, those are fine. So in order from most protected to least protected, your basement is obviously number one. If you don't have a basement, the next best choice would be an interior closet or interior room in the center of your house. That is the next best choice. The third best choice would be probably the bathtub and the hallway combined there. If your bathtub is in the center of your house, even better. For me, for example, my bathroom is actually on the southwest corner of my house. So technically, I have a basement, so I wouldn't choose the bathtub over the basement. But if I had to, um, I would probably choose the bathtub because I really don't have an interior hallway. So if I had an interior hallway, take that first. But otherwise, take your bathtub. Nathan, for Tuesday, if there's going to be any significant severe weather, it's going to be probably between 3 p.m. and 9 p.m. in South Michigan there. Yeah, I figured you did, Moses, there. I do see potential for that, especially further south. But again, only if parameter spaces hold. A lot can change between now and then. What about Coldwater? Coldwater is technically in a level 1 risk for tomorrow. We could see that upgraded. New update comes at 1:30. Main hazard right now, damaging winds, large hail. I do think there is a small concern across Michigan for a tornado or two. In fact, the SPC actually does show the area there is in a tornadic risk. I don't think it's overly concerning, but the further south you go, the higher the risk becomes. Um, just because you get closer to the instabilities. So Coldwater, yeah, would be in the area that I'd be more concerned about if you live in Michigan. But overall, the risk on a scale of 1 to 5 is only a 1. So it's not overly concerning, but it's still a risk nonetheless. All right, any more questions, guys? Got a lot going on next couple of days here. If you guys are just joining us, welcome to the stream. Before I hop off here, though, I will mention one more time for those of you who missed it. If you guys happen to have friends or family out in the Oklahoma area today, we do have a pretty rare level 5 out of 5 high risk in effect there from Oklahoma City up to, we'll say, that's not Wichita, is it? That can't be Wichita. I don't know my Kansas very well. It is Wichita, up toward Wichita. So those general areas out there out to the west, if you guys have friends, family, loved ones, relatives, send them a text. It could save a life today. All right. This risk will move into the Great Lakes region, not at this level, luckily, but we do have a risk tomorrow. Areas in dark green as well as yellow do have a risk there for severe weather. All hazards being possible, main ones concerning damaging winds, large hail. Tornadoes, I do think, is a growing concern, but it's not an um, overly like outbreak type of situation just yet. The models are just starting to kind of increase their probability for that, but we'll watch it. We'll have updates if anything changes. Would not be shocked to see this risk tomorrow get upgraded for portions of Indiana and Ohio to an enhanced level 3 risk, mainly for damaging winds, but would not be shocked if they upgrade the tornado probabilities as well. So that's your risk there for tomorrow. Dark green areas, yellow areas, and also one here for Wednesday further south across the Ohio River Valley. Indianapolis, Champaign area south in the highest risk there in orange. We'll have to keep an eye on that risk as well. But overall, focus one day at a time. We're going to start with tomorrow's risk. We'll have updates here. This SPC outlook gets updated here in 2 hours. If anything changes, we'll post it. So with that being said, I'm going to hop off here. You guys stay safe and have a wonderful Monday, quiet Monday afternoon. But I do want to mention that one more time. Western Illinois also has a threat. I can't stay quiet for all of us because there is a threat out here for Illinois today, later on this evening. So don't ignore that if you guys live out in Illinois. But otherwise, for the majority of us in the region, it's going to be a pretty quiet day. All right. With that being said, I'm going to hop off here. We'll have updates for you guys as they come in. Thanks, guys.